It's midday in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Porto Novo. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink, and here are the top stories. Burkinabe presidency arrests several state humanitarian aid workers for embezzlement of several billions of CFA francs.
Following a complaint, we discovered a network of criminals, unfortunately within the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. It is in this ministry that people have managed to get away with money. They stole several billions in 2024.
The Gambia's President Barrow drops all charges against two journalists accused of misinformation. Nigeria's President Tinubu orders the release of minors detained over the hashtag End Bad Governance protest. We do have reactions for you.
What makes them to do that protest is because of the hunger on the land. So I think it's better for the government to release them, especially we are in a democratic government. This is not a military government.
And some cheering news from Mali as students to return to school after a month postponement. Please stay tuned for details of the stories and more.
Here is Imo Edit with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. This edition begins with a focus on judiciary matters, first in Burkina Faso, where several billions of CFA francs have been embezzled by humanitarian aid workers. The information came from the president of the transition during the traditional raising of the colors on Monday. These officials have since been arrested and helping with investigations. Ogubierika has more details in this report by our Ouagadougou correspondent, Martin Kaba.
The information came as an important announcement by the Communications Department of the Presidency of Burkina Faso. In a video broadcast at 8 p.m. on national television, the Burkinabe interim president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, announced the arrest of several workers from the Ministry of Humanitarian Action for misappropriation of public funds.
Following a complaint, we discovered a network of criminals, unfortunately within the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. It is in this ministry that people have managed to get away with money. They stole several billions in 2024. The police have done an excellent job of investigation, which has allowed us to discover a lot of goods, luxury vehicles. There are still a lot of people who are trying to turn public money around. We will not have mercy for those individuals.
Nous n'allons pas avoir de la pitié pour ces individus-là.
In the televised broadcast, the president of the transition did not specify the amount embezzled or the number of people arrested. He, however, calls on the Conflict Resolution Commission set up within the presidency of FASO to be more rigorous in its controls.
Ogubierika voiced that report by our Ouagadougou correspondent, Martin Kaba. And in Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu has ordered the immediate release of minors arraigned before a court last Friday for their involvement in August's hashtag End Bad Governance protest. Tinubu's directive followed a widespread public outrage over the judiciary action. This announcement was made on Monday by Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, following a meeting at the State House in Abuja. Usman Umar reports.
The minister reveals that President Tinubu directed the immediate release of the minors, stating that their release is not contingent on ongoing legal proceedings. The president has also instructed the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction to provide welfare support and facilitate the safe reunion of the minors with their families across the country. Additionally, President Tinubu has called for the formation of a committee led by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to investigate the circumstances of the arrests, detention, and treatment of the detained minors, and to ensure compliance with due process in their release. The controversy began on November 1, 2024, when Nigerians expressed outrage over the police decision to bring 72 minors before a federal high court in Abuja, charging them with offenses including treason for participating in the protest. The minors, reportedly arrested in states such as Kaduna, Abuja, Gombe, Jos, Katsina and Kano, appeared malnourished, with some collapsing in court. Presiding Judge Obiora Egwatu granted bail to the minors, setting it at 10 million naira. era. Public figures such as former presidential candidates, human rights groups, and socio-political organizations condemned the government's handling of the case. The Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, responded to the backlash by ordering the police to transfer the case file to his office for review and further action by the Director of Public Prosecutions. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Meanwhile, a cross-section of Nigerians who saw the protesters when they were arraigned spoke to WDR on the issue.
So concerning the children that the government detained, I think it's improper because what makes them to do that protest is because of the hunger on the land. So I think it's better for the government to release them, especially we are in a democratic government. This is not it's not a military government. So what makes them to do that? Because they are looking at their future. If to say they did not do that, I don't think the government will look at what is going on. So please, I am calling for the Tinubu government to release this our young children.
A cross-section of Nigerians speaking there.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
And back here in Senegal, tributes continue to pour in for the late former Minister of Finance and Budget, Mamadou Mustafa Ba, who died on Monday after a short illness. Mamadou Mustafa Ba died at the age of 59 and is credited for establishing himself as a central player in Senegalese public management, occupying several key positions within the Ministry of Economy and Finance. After training in applied economics in Dakar and studying development policy at the University of Antwerp, he joined the Ministry of Finance and Economy in 1992, where he progressed to leading responsibilities. Appointed Director General of Finance in 2014, he ensured the distribution of budgetary appropriations between the various ministries and institutions. In September 2002, he was appointed Minister of Finance and Budget under the government of Amadou Ba, replacing Abdoulaye Daouda Diallo. During his time at the Ministry of Finance, Ba worked to modernize Senegal's budget management, also represented the country in regional institutions such as the CBAO and the Islamic Development Bank. Upon the announcement of his death, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye sent a condolence message to his family and loved ones. Crossing over to the Gambia, President Adama Barrow has agreed to drop charges against 2 journalists following a constructive meeting with the Gambia Press Union GPU and the Media Council on Monday. This development has been described as a significant milestone in ensuring press freedom in the country. The journalists face legal action for their reports that the Gambian leader had chosen a successor ahead of the general elections in 2026, which had raised concerns about government transparency and accountability. Our Banjo correspondent Angelo Janko has more details in this report.
President Barrow had filed a civil lawsuit against the editor-in-chief, Musa Sharif, and reporter Mohamed Dabo of the Voice newspaper after it reported that the Gambian leader chose a successor as he prepares for his exit plans. In his affidavit, Barrow's lawyers claimed the report brought disunity in the president's ruling National People's Party, NPP. However, following a closed-door meeting with the Gambia Press Union, the Media Council, and others, on Monday, President Adama Barrow has agreed to drop civil suit against the paper, a statement issued by the presidency said. The statement further stated, President Barrow reaffirmed his commitment and that of his government to the protection of freedom of expression, adding, it was never his intention or that of his government to prosecute journalists. WDR showed the reaction of some journalists following the development.
The decision from the president to drop the charges against the 2 journalists from the Voice newspaper is timely, and I commend him for taking that bold step to drop the charges, because from the onset, I don't believe the president should have in fact initiated any lawsuit against the journalists.
I believe now he has taken this thing too far, because this needs no legal action, but taking it to the court and pressing charges against a particular editor and a particular reporter, I think, goes to threaten freedom of expression in this country.
For Yusuf Taylor, also a journalist. Although he applauded the president for the decision, he called for the repealing of laws that deter the work of journalists.
We do hope that the president would realize that the laws that are still there against false publication and sedition are to be repealed, and that they would take actions and steps to ensure that these laws are repealed as soon as possible, because once they are there, as you can see, they can still be used.
Meanwhile, criminal charges against the said journalists are also expected to be dropped by the government. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sankule Janki reporting from Banjul.
In Côte d'Ivoire, the operation of revising the electoral register, which began on October 19, will continue until November 10. The president of the Democratic Party of Côte d'Ivoire, PDCI, Tidjane Cham, toured some restriction centers in the district of Abidjan on Sunday. A purely technical visit, at the end of which the president of the PDCI requested a significant extension of the deadline for the enrollment operation. Details in Abidjan with Albin Ade and voiced by Christopher Ticho.
The PDCI president visited some enrollment centers in the economic capital Abidjan. He went to the popular communes of Yopougon, Atekube and Adjamé. Tidjane Cham said he wanted to be reassured that the operation to register voters on the electoral roll would go smoothly.
Whenever I speak to the agents, I want to ensure they have everything they need. This includes training and equipment to perform their tasks. If that's the case, then speaking to the people in charge becomes easier. Generally, inside, we find that more people have the C&I. When you have the C&I, the operation is very straightforward. I also verified that the C&I receipts are accepted, so anyone with receipts should not hesitate to proceed.
The president of the main opposition party in Côte d'Ivoire is calling for an extension of the deadline for revising the electoral register in view of the enthusiasm observed as its closing date approaches.
An extension of the deadline is absolutely necessary because we have been raising awareness for 2 weeks, but we have already used up 2/3 of the available time. It's only now that people are really starting to mobilize and do their part. Therefore, we strongly believe that a significant extension of the deadline is needed given the current enthusiasm we're seeing among the people.
Tidjane Cham also invited the population, particularly the PDCI activists, to enroll massively on the electoral register. The PDCI hopes to register a large number of activists in view of the 2025 presidential election.
That was Albin Ade's report and voiced by Christopher Ticho. The Supreme Court of Liberia has instructed lawmakers seeking to remove Speaker J. Fonati Kofa to return to the main House chamber and conduct their affairs within the bounds of law and due process. From Monrovia, Grace Joshua completes the story.
During a conference presided over by Associate Justice Yomi Besard, Councillor H. Vani Shement, representing the anti-Kofa bloc, considered that due process for the speaker removal has not been initiated. Shema also acknowledged that without formal proceedings, Speaker Kofa retained his position, making it premature for him to seek a prohibition against his colleague. Speaking to a reporter at the Temple of Justice, Representative for the Family said they will initiate the due process for the removal of the Speaker in joint chambers of the legislature in accordance with the Constitution of Liberia.
And our lawyer said we have not begun the due process. It was on Thursday that the deputy speaker presided, and there has been an official communication of a complaint sent to the deputy chief clerk, who received a complaint, and that complaint was presented to the justice in chamber.
Representing Councillor Kofa were Councillor Serunu Cephas and former Associate Justice Kabina Jade. They argued that to remove him as Speaker of the House of Representatives, Kofa should be given a due process in line with Article 49 of the Liberia Constitution. For West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Grace Joshua in Monrovia.
A presidential candidate in the 2024 elections in Ghana has called for calm in Baku, a conflict-prone town in the Upper East region, especially as the country heads into the polls. Hassan Ayariga of the All People's Congress, ABC, was reacting to the renewed chieftaincy clashes in the town that has so far claimed several lives, according to official reports. It said the government must sit up and quell the escalating problems in the Baku township.
My identity is from the Upper East, precisely Baku. Today I can't sleep because Baku is at war. My mother from the Mamprusi tribe, my father from the Kusasi tribe are fighting. As I speak to you now, gunshots everywhere. The city or the town is a ghost town now. And I'm a presidential candidate. I think I need more peace than all of you here. Peace is expensive, but war is more expensive. Burkina Faso is at war. We can go there. Togo is not as peaceful as we think. I want government to sit up. The problem in Boko is escalating.
Hassan Ayariga is the presidential candidate of the All People's Congress in Ghana. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar and on our partner stations across the sub-region. Here's a reminder of the top stories. The Burkinabe presidency arrests several state humanitarian aid workers for embezzlement of several billions of CFA francs. The Gambia's President Barrow drops all charges against 2 journalists accused of misinformation. Nigeria's President Tinubu orders the immediate release of minors detained over the hashtag End Bad Governance protest. And still ahead in the news, students in Mali to return to school after a month postponement, and over 200 million American voters to go to the polls to elect their 47th president. We do have the press review, guest interview, and sport news. Please stay with us.
You are listening to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal.
Don't forget you can follow our live stream on wadr.org, YouTube, and Facebook. We head now to Mali, where students return to school this Monday after more than a month of postponement. A return to school has been effective in several major cities in the country, following the efforts of the authorities to rehouse flood victims who were occupying the establishments. Elsewhere in the center of the country, several schools remain closed due to insecurity in the area. More details from our correspondent in Bamako, Ali Cham, and voiced by Abdullahi Hassan.
In the capital, Bamako, most schools resumed on Monday. Classrooms that were still occupied by thousands of flood victims have been vacated. This has been an effective return to school thanks to the efforts of the authorities, rejoices Prime Minister Shogel Maiga, who attended the resumption of classes in a school.
I would like to commend the organizational skills and dedication of various government members and all state agents who went above and beyond to create the conditions for a successful school start on November 4, despite all the difficulties.
Just like in Bamako, classes have resumed in several other large cities in the country, including Senegal in the center, which was heavily impacted by flooding this year. Albert Kalembri is a journalist in the region.
Regarding the city of Senegal, the school reopening was indeed effective this morning. In the rural commune of Belenganen, there wasn't a single school where students could access the classroom without crossing water.
The situation is quite different in the north-central region, particularly in Bandangyara, where it is rather insecurity that is preventing several schools from reopening. Amadou Luge is leader of the local youth council.
It is clearly closed. There aren't even any people there. For various reasons, attempting to open the classes was out of the question. As you mentioned, the situation has reached a point where it cannot even be described today in terms of the security zone status. There are no people, only jokes and warriors, and none of them are there anymore. So we cannot speak of virtual classes.
According to the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, more than 1,500 schools are closed and more than 5,000 children are deprived of education due to insecurity.
That was Ali Cham's report and voiced by Abdullahi Hassan. Elsewhere, today, Tuesday, November 5, marks a historic day in the United States' democratic history as more than 240 million Americans are called to the polls to choose their 47th president. It is a vote between a Democratic candidate and serving Vice President Kamala Harris and the Republican candidate Donald Trump. In their most recent meetings, Harris called for the vote and an end to a decade guided by fear, while the former President Trump promises to take America and the world to new heights. Over 82 million Americans, including Democratic candidate Kamala Harris, have voted early in recent days. Donald Trump is due to vote this Tuesday near his home in Florida. The 2024 election in the U.S. is seen by many as the most fierce and tightly contested race in recent times, with many surprising events having taken place, including the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. The race is expected to come down to results from 7 swing states, which experts believe Harris and Trump both have a realistic chance of winning. In the meantime, it's all eyes on America.
This is the Newspaper Review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the Newspaper Review.
The Newspaper Review.
Well, let's cross over to Monrovia as we join Grace Joshua for the press review.
For today's edition of Press Review, we look at the independent newspaper. The story says, broad day robbery. ANC chair slam October salary payment for majority bloc. Liberia to host 32 Regional Maritime University Board of Governors meeting. Through the Liberia Maritime Authority will host the 32 Board of Governors meeting of the Regional Maritime University from November 5th to the 8th, 2024 in Monrovia. We now bring you the story. Ministry of Agriculture take giant step as huge rice production in sight. Agriculture Ministry, headed by Dr. J. Alexander Notwa, has taken a giant step in Lower Bone County and several other counties to boost rice production and strengthen food security and address importation of foreign rice to Liberia. 5 women cooperative impact Nima with food production. Still on the Independence newspaper, the story says the majority block and make blunder as Supreme Court order due process. Hardship scoring as lawmaker entangle in power struggle. On the front page of the Africa Daily newspaper, the story says LSMF and NAFA train journalists on specialized fishery reporting. Liberia Sustainable Management of Fishery Project, in collaboration with the National Fishery and Aquaculture, has embarked on a 3-day specialized journalism training on fishery reporting. Liberia journalists attend AUC 2024 in South Africa. Greatest Slam Patriot March on the capital. Still on the Africa Daily newspaper, the story says, I cannot put a writ of prohibition on your proceedings. Associate Justice tell majority bloc. We now bring you the front page Africa newspaper. The Kushep Senator, Magibi Senator Emmanuel Nukwe caught on tape admitting to budget manipulation and plot to unseat Speaker Fonati Kofa. That is how we come to an end of today's edition of the Press Review. I'm Grace Williams Joshua.
Many thanks, Grace Joshua there in Monrovia with the newspaper review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Joining us this afternoon is Austin Aigbe, Advocacy Officer for West Africa Democracy Solidarity Network, where Damos will comment on President Bola Tinubu's directive to free all minors arraigned before a court last Friday for their involvement in the hashtag #EndBadGovernance protest in August. Well, the president's gesture has been welcomed, especially among rights activists and CSOs. Questions remain about Tinubu's alleged interference with the judicial proceedings.
What was the accusation? That they flown the Russian flag during the protest in August. And they were being charged now on an offense that you can't even imagine whether it is not even within the constitutional, within the law of the Federation not to fly another country's flag. And for saying that these kids are now being charged for treason, treasonable offense is a very terrible offense. It's beyond a criminal offense. To say that those minors are now the ones trying to overthrow the government of Bola Tinubu is absurd, is weird, is unimaginable. It was due to the public outcry that eventually motivated the president to request that the children release. Mind you, it is not yet at the domain of the court pronouncement. So we cannot really say that the President Tinubu is interfering in court processes, because these kids minors are still within the police custody. They will not be formally kept in prison custody like we have with cases like the Kano and Co.
Yet, Mr. Austin, do you think the president, by announcing this directive on yesterday Monday, is in any way opening a circle of foreseeable interference by the executive?
Yes. So you see, what we also expect that journalists that have also been arrested illegally, the president needs to also make a pronouncement for their release. There are many people in police custody, not prison custody now. They are not already in the correctional facility. They are just within the police cells, who are there for majority awaiting even appearance in court. We are talking about what happened in August. The president not even do public statement. The president did not need to formally ask the police to release them. All the president needed to have done is to give instructions to the NSA and ask them to execute the action, whether they are guilty or not, whether asking for their release directly. That is purely an interference. It's an interference, whether it is from the aspect or even from the processes of law, as it were. But I am saying that if the president can do that for the minor, because already it's an aberration to have actually get those minors to those processes and charging them with treasonable felony, which is a very enormous crime in Nigerian land. And well, the president has done what is right, but I think he didn't have to have done it using his power as the president of Nigeria. I think the president needs to go a step further to immediately sack everyone responsible for the arrest of those minors.
Austin Aigbe is the advocacy officer for West Africa Democracy Solidarity Network, WADEMOS. Here is Sport News with Sankle Janko.
Hello there, warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The road to the 2024 African Nations Championship CHAN has reached a critical juncture, with the clashes for the final qualifying round setting up several mouth-watering regional rivalries, according to CAF official website. The qualification landscape has taken shape following a dramatic first round that saw several notable casualties. Sierra Leone, Benin and Somalia's campaigns came to an early end, while teams including Togo, Liberia and Burundi survived to earn their spots in the decisive final round. The standard fixture sees the continental powerhouse Ghana and Nigeria renew their historic rivalry, while compelling West African derby pits Guinea against neighbors Guinea-Bissau in what promises to be a fierce territorial battle. Defending champions Senegal's path to the finals runs through Liberia, while Cameroon's indomitable Lions face a stern test against Central African Republic. CAF reports Cote d'Ivoire's Elephants have been drawn against Burkina Faso's Stallions in another heavyweight West African clash. Each tie will be played over 2 legs, with the winners securing their place in the finals, a tournament exclusively featuring players from domestic leagues across Africa. The final qualifying round is scheduled for December 2024, with ties to be played between 20 to 22 December and 27 to 29 December. The tournament proper will be jointly hosted by Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania from February 1 to 28, 2025. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Christian Mukuda and Maudoju for the technical assistance. Do connect with us on all of our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, RWDL News, and Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. I am Imo Edet. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.